Welcome to So What's It Actually About? I'm your host, Margie McKechnie, and I, along with my wide array of guests, hope to help you better understand and weather the wonderful world of actuarial science. Hello and welcome to today's episode. I am joined by Lené, who is my friend, but is also the head of technical marketing at Discovery for Vitality and Health. So a phenomenal person to have on the podcast. I'm just so excited. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Mark.
Honestly, yeah, I'm so excited. We both specialize in the health space. So I think you're going to be hearing two people just talking about something they love. I always say to my students, try and find the love of your actuarial life. And I think health is mine, and health I know is yours as well. So that's something we definitely resonated on. But enough about that. Tell me, why did you become an actuary? What was your journey to becoming an actuary? And yeah, just sort of unpack that for us.
So, why I wanted to become an actuary, I had no idea. I had no idea what an actuary did. The reason I became an actuary was because I went for tests for someone else to tell me what I'm good at.
What I
should become. And basically the two options were an actuary or a neurosurgeon. So I decided to do the best of both and qualify as an actuary in the healthcare space.
There we go.
So I actually didn't know what it was before I started the journey. I did, when I was in high school, actually, I did talk to a few actuaries to try and get an understanding of what they do. And it's maybe similar to what you're trying to achieve with the podcast, to get a bit of an insight, but you don't really know until you get there. And even in my studies, in the first 3 years, you don't really get to understand how the technical skills you're taught, how that applies in practice. And you probably get a taste of it in your honours here, but really only once you start working do you really fully understand what it is. And it's also because the industry is so wide and you could be one of many different things and work in various different roles when you actually work. So it's not something like a doctor where you know typically what a general practitioner does. Being an actuary it very much depends in the role in type of insurance space you're in, and even within that, what role you're in.
Yeah, very hands-on.
But yes, I ended up in the technical marketing team after I studied. So yeah. I started in the technical marketing team. So it's hard to describe what someone in the technical marketing team does. But I think we'll go into a bit of that a bit later. Yeah. But maybe to talk to my journey of becoming an actuary, the journey was quite tough, quite hard, quite long. Although I did quite well in university and walked out with a number of exemptions, I think the hardest part for me was actually after university and trying to balance work with studying. Yeah. And passing those board exams that you still have left afterwards. And I actually wrote the final exam, the fellowship exam, 4 times before I passed.
Was that many times?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think if the listeners can take anything away, it's to persevere.
Yeah.
Do not give up. So I passed on the 4th time, and I think actually I passed once I was in that space of being calm about it, have made peace with it, haven't seen this as a mental block, and said I've prepared to my best of my ability. It's not my knowledge that's lacking. I know what's going on in the environment. I know the content of the exam. Really, just not being anxious about it, and that was actually the time when I passed.
Yeah.
So don't put too much pressure on yourself.
Yeah, I mean, funny for our audience, I actually invigilated Lené when she passed her exam. It was during COVID, right? Was it end of 2020?
It was just after the hard lockdown. So
yeah,
2020.
And the Actuarial Society had allowed certain employers to have exam venues, and they'd asked someone at the employer to be the invigilator. So I invigilated Lené, and you were 6 months pregnant at the time, were you not? So goodness, you were building a child and passing a fellowship. It isn't crazy. It is crazy. But yeah, I mean, I think it's of encouragement, because you have done it so well. And I think it's easy for young actuaries to look at you and be like, oh, but it was obvious that she would end up, where she is because she's doing so well in that role. And yet you struggled.
Yeah.
And I think that is of an encouragement.
And I think it's not even just me. I think there are so many people that are achieving such great things in their workspace that have had trouble passing exams.
Yeah.
And often people don't talk about it. So
They don't. Especially once they passed it, right? Because like when they're in it, they talk about it. And then as soon as they pass, they're like, yeah, I don't know.
But even I think there's almost people don't want to talk about their failures.
Yeah.
I think
It's a bit of a stigma.
bit of a stigma there, and that's why I actually like talking about it, because it just encourages someone else to
Really
in that
does.
same sort of pain almost of trying to pass an exam but keep on failing.
Yeah.
That there really is hope, and many other people have gone through it. And many of them have passed and qualified as actuaries. So-
Exactly. And tell me, why healthcare? I mean, you spoke about the neuroscience, so it sounds like there was a bit of an interest, like a latent interest in health. But what sort of drew you to healthcare? I know what drew me, but I think let's unpack what drew you.
So for me, it is just the environment is so dynamic and ever changing.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
I think it's very different to a lot of other traditional, more traditional actuarial roles. Obviously, healthcare is one of the newer roles in the actuarial space, and it's very dynamic. The regulation
Goodness.
changes a lot,
Almost on the daily.
Almost on the daily, and having to and being in the team I am in, need to actually almost
Be on top of it.
be on top of it and actually be able to reassure all the different stakeholders of what is happening. Specifically, I think more recent healthcare policy changes as well.
No, exactly.
It's very dynamic. You don't do the same thing twice.
No,
It's
never.
a very interesting, ever-changing, innovative space to be in. So I really enjoy that about it.
So I think we've said to the audience that you are working technical marketing. Now I'm sure a lot of people are like, technical marketing, like what is that? Like no one told me I actually could do that. Like marketing sounds like creative. It's not something that we associate with actuaries. So can you just like unpack what is the role of technical marketing, and then on top of that, what is the role of technical marketing in healthcare?
Yes. So technical marketing, it's very difficult to for someone to just get what they're doing by the title. So we call ourselves marketing actuaries if you're in the technical marketing space. But what the function of the technical marketing team is to actually take the product that has been developed by the insurer or the company and package that for advisors to sell.
Yes. And the advisors would not be as technical as the actuary, right?
Yes.
So you often are breaking down what isn't only understood really by an actuary for people who now have to sell it.
So I have to, often convey a very technical concept to someone that is not technical at all.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of explaining around the products, how it's been designed, the reason for its design, the way it's been designed, and how it actually works, how they actually sell this to the market, who are the people they should be selling to, that sort of thing. So we very much the link between the insurers and the advisors and then obviously their clients as well. So we're the support function for the sales and distribution teams and the advisors.
And so does that also include sort of like if there is a query from someone who's on, let's say, the medical scheme and they don't understand why something's happened, then like a specific broker can say to you, sorry, we don't understand the like rationale for this. Could you give us like a backing as to why you made this decision, that sort of thing?
Yes, so we do deal with a lot of those queries. We try our best to actually equip the distribution channels within the insurer as well as the brokers to actually know the detail behind those questions beforehand. But in the cases where they don't understand some of the details, all those queries do come to us for assistance with unpacking exactly how it works, what the reason for it is. Often we need to deal with or explain the rationale for a decision or a way of product design.
Okay. And tell me, this might sound maybe like an obvious question, but why is that important? Like, why is it important that your distribution channels and your people that are selling these products actually understand what it is that they're selling?
It's actually very crucial because effectively the product needs to meet the needs of the individual, and advisors need to understand who this product was designed for, what need it meets, and how this product actually manifests for that individual to best advise them. Often, I think also within the healthcare environment, obviously there are a lot of different medical schemes or health insurers as well, and trying to make sense of this very difficult and complex environment. I think it's a very complex environment.
Very.
medical scheme benefits across medical schemes are very different.
Yeah.
It's hard for someone
To compare.
Yeah. So we I always sit with that function within our team to actually try and do the best comparison of the different plans on the different medical schemes, compare the different benefits to the different prices, and try and make sense of which medical scheme or which plan offers the best value for money, and which market segments those plans are appropriate for.
Yeah.
So to try and assist advisors and distribution channels in understanding that just best as they can.
Yeah, and I guess if you didn't do that, then you have the risk of like mis-selling.
Yes.
And not meeting the needs.
Yes.
No, exactly. And I think, that's the whole point with developing a product, is that you have to know what the need is and meet the need. Otherwise, the product doesn't actually have legs.
And I think it's also a two-way street. It's not only taking the product that has been designed by the insurer or the medical scheme or whoever the company is and distributing that to advisors, but it's also the other way around, to hear from the advisors what works, what doesn't work, take the feedback, because often those that are designing the product are not the ones that understand
the disconnect.
Yes, the disconnect. So it's actually a very important cycle of innovation.
And tell me, when you talk about distribution channels, can you talk to what are the different types of distribution channels that you deal with?
Yes, so within the healthcare space, there are typically two pillars. One is advisors that sell to employer groups.
Okay.
So they offer a healthcare solution to an employer group, and the employer buys in, and every one of the employees on that employer then has to belong to that medical scheme or health insurance product. As well as advisors that advise individuals. So where an individual makes a choice for themselves, it's not determined by the employer and how which medical scheme or health insurer they choose there. So those are almost the two pillars. And within the individual space, there's also two different cohorts. One cohort is tied advisors. So they're tied to the company. They can only sell that one product, only for, in our case, Discovery's products. They cannot sell any other medical scheme or any other health insurance, as well as independent advisors.
Okay.
So those, obviously, for the clients, they have the option of either a Discovery or a different medical scheme.
Yeah.
So those are roughly the distribution channels. On the employer space, so that pillar, typically those brokers or advisors are independent. So we don't really have the tied advisors in that space.
Okay.
They offer multiple products, or they can sell different products to the employers, and based on the employer's needs and the value offering of the different products, actually put a specific product forward.
Okay, that's really interesting. Now, I think let's maybe shift our conversation towards health insurance as a discipline. I think, we've spoken about medical schemes, and then sometimes you talk about health insurance products. And I think a lot of people just use those interchangeably. And you and I both know that those things are different. So maybe could you speak to what defines something as a medical scheme? And then I think we'll talk about health insurance after that, just to sort of unpack that for the audience.
Okay, so a medical scheme, in almost to try and make the concept a little bit easier, is almost a non-profit organization.
Yeah, which is actually something, I remember telling that to someone before, and they're like, no, but my medical scheme makes so much profit off of me. And I'm like, no, like it's a mutual fund. Like it's managed by trustees.
Yes.
So
whatever contributions goes into that pool of money has to be paid out in claims, healthcare claims.
Yeah.
Or there is a fixed rand value that goes towards the administrator for actually managing the medical scheme.
Yeah.
Actually having the systems in place to pay out the claims, having the actuarial services to price the contributions, etc. So there's a whole range of services that an administrator delivers,
and they make a profit. An administrator, they would make a profit from that rand value that they get.
Yes, but it's not fixed rand value 100%. Per policy per month. So it doesn't depend on how much contributions comes in or what the level of claims is. If it's a bad year, then the administrator doesn't get any more or less money.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important to actually make that distinction.
Yeah.
So within the medical scheme space, then it's very regulated. It's regulated by the Council for Medical Schemes, and there are particular benefits that every single plan on a medical scheme has to cover.
Yes.
And those are called the prescribed minimum benefits.
Yeah.
So whether it is for certain, there's a list of chronic conditions that needs to be covered. There are also a list of other treatments and hospital admissions that needs to be covered. And every single plan on a medical scheme that is registered by the Council for Medical Schemes has to cover those. And those obviously come at a cost. So there's no almost flexibility for a medical scheme to say, no, I don't want to cover this part, and let's reduce